I'm gonna go around and I'm gonna share a little bit of everybody because I think it's really important. But first of all, share what I'm really excited about is just I was talking. We've had a few one-on-ones in the last few days with some people, and the thing that I said is I don't feel like for the first time ever I feel that everybody that's sitting in this table, we're all aligned. We're all on the same mission. We're all on the same team, and it's never felt like that before, ever since I've owned the company, and it's scary in a good way. Because if we did what we were able to do without people half in, and we had people over here, and we had people that kind of were more selfishly interested about themselves and it was for the team, then we can do a lot. So I'll start with Roy and I'll go this way. When Roy came to me, he was working for another competitor, and that competitor wasn't taking a role. Roy saw one of the videos that I posted from an advertisement, and that's how he called me. He saw that, he said that it motivated him and he'd like to come over here. And so we started talking. We went into the commission side of things. Yeah. Oh, yes. It was funny because I asked him, I'm like, where did you work at? He's like, I'd prefer not to say. Yeah. And so, yeah, and so then after that, I was in Hawaii, and he was gonna start that Monday, and I was in Hawaii. I was getting off to go to the beach, and Roy calls me, so I answer, and he starts flaking on me. Hey, I talked to my boss, and he said that we're going into the winter months, and it sounded like it. We're going into the winter months, and I guess I don't know, and I guess what I'm trying to say is that, well, yeah, I'm not comfortable going full commission. And so I said, Roy, and I saw the potential. And I said, Roy, what would it take you? Because his biggest thing was, he goes, well, I have a car, like I need a truck. I said, okay, what else? How much do you need to get paid for you to come work for us? And he said, and it was just an hourly rate. He didn't want commission. He just wanted security. That's what Roy was after in the beginning. It was just security. And so he said, and I said, okay, sounds good. And so that's where he's at now. Then we went through the things with Ken and being able to step out of your comfort zone. Like, I've seen big changes in you. Ken uses you as a case study, and he used you in OKC in front of everybody. And he said, because he saw a lot of changes in you. What's that? I know. So I'm proud of you. I think everybody's seen the growth in you. You're the guy that's on Facebook now, right? And so that's awesome, bro. Jose, same thing. From the moment that I saw Jose, I knew that there was alignment. I interviewed Jose for an operations manager position that was paying 100K plus. And he came in. But that was when he came in, we had scheduled it for the operations manager. I had a call with my business coach, and he said, you don't need an operations manager. And so I said, well, I already have all these people coming through to interview. Like, I'm just going to tell them that I'm not hiring for them anymore. But, I'd like to, maybe see if they're a fit somewhere else. And that's where Jose was talking about that. I remember sitting him down. I said, hey, look, man, I'm going to be very honest with you before you even start the interview. I said, I'm not hiring for an operations manager anymore. I said, but we have all their opportunities here. And with your experience and what you do, I feel like you would be a good fit for the team as a field supervisor. And I told him, I said, you're not going to be getting paid what you're worth, but the potential is there, and we always promote from within, right? And I remember vividly the reason why I hired Jose was because the first time that he came in, because then the second time is when I brought him in to hire him, but the first time that we interviewed, I remember Jose sat there and he said, you know what? I don't even care if I get hired. He goes, I'm motivated. Did you not? And he goes, I don't even care if I don't get hired. He goes, I'm motivated. And I just remember that stuck with me. And so when I made the decision on who I was going to hire, he was the first person that I called. He was working for another company in town, and he came over and he started. And so then when that opportunity came, we do promote from within, right? That's an example of Adam that I'll get into. But he came in, and you've been able to step in as a commercial estimator. And I love Christian to death. I think that he was a good fit for us. I said, but the things that you've been able to do or things happen for a reason. And when he left, you stepped in and you filled that role more than he ever did. And so appreciate you. I think the team enjoys your presence. You're awesome to be around. And you're a big help to a lot of these guys with the takeoffs and everything that you do. So, I sent you a message the other day, just keep being teachable. Crystal, we started off as a buzzball, and she's been able to, in the beginning, she was doing the job of two people. and she was doing more than Daisy. And within, I think it was 2 months, I gave her a raise immediately, and she was making as much as Daisy was. And Daisy had been there for 2 years or whatever. And I remember telling her specifically that it didn't feel right that she was getting paid less and she was doing more than what Daisy was getting paid. And so that's kind of how it started. And then everybody goes up through ups and downs, and Crystal had a dip, and we've had these tough conversations. And there's been conversations where me and Crystal have communicated just via email. We're in the same office, and I'm pissed, and she's pissed at me, and we're literally just communicating via email. We're walking by each other in the hallway, and we're not saying things. Like, me and Crystal have been in some very heated arguments, right? But those things is, a relationship isn't a relationship until it's been tested, right? And so how can you say that you had a friendship when nothing's been going wrong in that friendship, when it's always been sunshines and rainbows? Until the relationship is tested, it usually makes it stronger, and that's what it's been. You've been great. I feel that you were kind of like Tony was for a little bit, just kind of complacent, and you kind of were conflicted about where you're at, and then you got that clarity, and you've been stepping up. And so everybody, I think, it really enjoys having you also on the team. And I think that you bring some sort of energy into the office that everybody appreciates. So I appreciate you on the team. Adam is very accurate on what he said. Again, going back to from promoting from within. Adam was our field supervisor, and that was the position that he took, was Jose's. When Jose moved into the commercial estimator, Adam got hired because we now had a void in that. And since the very beginning, Adam was just very accountable. He was very teachable. He was way above his age. I always told him, like, dude, you're so far beyond your age. And it reminded me of who I was when I was at that age. Remember, Tony? When I was 17 years old, 18 years old, and it was one of those things that I just wanted it more. I wanted it more than anybody. And Adam was a resemblance of that. And so when things happened and we made the switches with Brandon and we had to let him go, he was there. He was the person in production. He's not even old enough to buy a beer, right? And we joke around that a lot, but his maturity is, I know people that are 40 years old that don't have a grasp in their life, and then there's people that are his age that are very, very much mature. And so Adam's been probably one of the most selfless people in this entire team. Whatever you need, whether it's on the weekend, moving couches, whether it's after hours, whatever it is, he's always the first person to jump in to help out. He's in the office late, and you've been able to bring that side that we were missing, and is that you're just such a team player that it's contagious, right? You do things and it makes other people want to do the same thing for others. And so I'm grateful to have you on the team. I'm excited for the growth because you're very, very young, and you're around great people too. And so I appreciate you. Rodrigo, same thing. I feel like the reason why I hired you is because I saw a lot of me in you, especially when getting around at the young age. And I feel like we've all been there where, like, we want an opportunity, but nobody's willing to take the shot on us because we don't have the experience, or because we don't have the resume, or because we just don't fit the profile of what they're looking for. And when I was in the Tri-Cities and I was searching, remember, I had just moved from the Tri-Cities, told me you need to come to the Tri-Cities, there's more opportunity. So I came to the Tri-Cities, and I remember applying everywhere. And every time that I'd apply somewhere, it was because I didn't have appropriate experience. I remember the person that I went to interview was for Royal Roofing. I went in there, and Mike Chavez was the vice president, and he laughed me out of the room. And Mike goes to work for this guy. When he leaves Royal Roofing, he starts Alpine Roofing, and now Mike works for me, right? So it's a full circle moment, right? Mike was his boss, but that motivated me in ways that a lot of people don't understand, because a lot of the times we bounce back from rejection because we want that vendetta, right? We want to prove people wrong of why they should have took the chance on us. And so that's why I hired you. But also the reason why is because throughout those interactions in the very beginning, dude, you called me, you texted me, and you were always around. And he's like, hey, can I do that? Is there anything that I'd really love if I could, remember he was asking, like, I'll go and drop off the materials for you at the job sites, not knowing that that's what we have QXO and Stoneway for, but that was the innocence in you. And so, Jose is really the reason why that was that final push. He's like, why don't you hire Rodrigo? Because I remember telling the office, like, hey, like, just keep going. Like, we're about to slow down. The things are going to get slow. Like, just keep going. And then I remember Adam came into my office one day and he sat down and he goes, I don't think we're going to slow down, bud. And so he was drowning. There was a lot of things that he was doing in production, and he was there 12, 13-hour days. And so you've been able to come in and you've been a huge asset to the team. And, you know, just like everybody else in here, dude, like there's opportunity for growth. We're going to be growing as a company. And so keep doing what you're doing and you're going to see yourself, you know, somewhere within us, you know, in a higher up position for sure. Mike talks about that. I remember Mike hit me up. He was working for Riley, a guy that I grew up in Boardman. And he said, hey, man, I'm working for Alpine Roofing. I'm a commission-only sales rep. I have to pay for my own gas. If I want a hat, I have to pay for my own hat. And if I want a sweater, I have to pay for my own sweater. And that was really shocking because I'm like, who does that? Like if you wanted an A&A sweater, it's like, hey, bro, yeah, it's going to be $25, right? Imagine you're like, what the heck? Like it's for the company. And so that's what Mike was doing. And so I don't know what it was, but it was just one of those things. Like I felt like it's just like, I guess that instinct about you that you gave me, it was an opportunity that I felt that was going to be a good fit. And I tell people a lot about this, man. Like, I'm so happy for you. Just because last year, like, you talk about this, but like, dude, like, you were driving 2 hours every single day from Yakima. You're commuting, you know, 10 hours a week just in your commute. And then, you know, you being by yourself, man, I mean, it gets lonely, right? And then when you were in that conflict about whether you wanted to move to Pullman and whether you moved to Pullman or you stayed in the Tri-Cities, we had that meeting at Tommy's. And I was just like, man, you know, at the end of the day, I think that you should stick around because you're building your, you know, you're building your pipeline here and you're getting your feet established. Like if later down the road you want to move to Pullman, then you can. And I said, no matter what happens in the decision that you make, like if the winter slows down, because you were very worried about, you know, being the only commission sales rep here, it was like, that was scary because you have to come over here and you have to pay for the deposit. You have to pay the first month's rent, the last month's rent. And that's scary, right? And not knowing how the winter was going to be. This is in November, not knowing if we were going to be working or not. And I told you, hey, no matter what happens, if winter gets slow, like we'll give you advances and that's it. And there you go. Your first month in, 15 days in, you're at $500,000 in sales, right? So the sky's the limit for you. I'm so happy for you. I'm so glad that you decided to pick us and be able to stay with us. And you bring a lot of, you know, excitement to the team as well, right? Jenessys is like the little bulldog of the office, right? She's like that little pit bull that just like is always there, like making sure you're getting things done. And that's what's unique about you is that you bring up another level of accountability to the team. You're very direct, and so people understand that. And you're very on top of your job, right? Things don't really fall through the cracks with you, and if they do, you want to know how you could do and get better about it. You keep other people accountable as well, and you're just a fun person to be around. I knew Jenessys from the longest time at Numerica, yeah, and she was just always there. And then she moved and went to go work for Alex, and and she did not talk like that. And then some things happened that she knows about, and then she just was. You know, when I was looking for that person, I needed somebody that I could trust and that had a certain personality, and she fit that, and it's been great, right? And so she's been awesome. So we appreciate you. Tony, I've known Tony since 2016, and he was a hard ass. Like when I was building the business, the Amway business, like that's what gave me the entrepreneur spirit that I have today. Like I tell people, if I could hire a bunch of sales reps that come from an MLM, which is a multi-level marketing business, I would do it every day of the week, because that teaches you the rejection, it teaches you the no's, it teaches you, you know, the uncertainty of whether something's going to work. And that's what laid the foundation. And my upline, I outgrew my upline. And then I started working directly with Tony and with Angelo. And he gave me a lot of advice that I really needed and gave me the foundation of where I needed to be at. And we have some hilarious ass stories on these long road trips where we would drive 3 hours one way. They're hilarious, like hilarious. And I won't share them just because they take too much time. But then Tony was my mentor, and we fast forward, you know, 3-4 years later. Well, I was in 2020. Yeah, 5 years later, he messages me one day and says, hey, you know, is there room there? And I said, absolutely, because I knew the potential that he had. But in the very beginning, I would hear from other people, oh, well, Tony's in, and Tony's saying, oh, he just might not be here for a while, and that he's just here for a minute, you know? And he was very half in and half out, but he was the guy that always would tell me, do the one thing and do it right. You can't be half in, right? And so I think that he finally understood that. And that's when the change was made, and we had a great one-to-one just, you know, at the IDK restaurant. And you bring another level of, you know, you're just you're Tony, and that's what makes you special, bro. Like, you're out of pocket, and you say things when you shouldn't say things, and and you just like, you're that person on Facebook. You're that perfect. Like, you have your own personality, and that's what makes you special. And so you elevate the team, right? So you've been great, and I'm excited to keep on growing with you. I know we've had a history, and so that's been awesome. And finally, Misael, I remember I was a sweaty ass July. It was hot. Sweaty. And I was driving, it was in my Ford F-150 that I had back then. And I remember these two guys, and Misael was like hella long hair. And I remember stopping by, and I rolled my, like a Native American. And I rolled down my window and I said, hey, are you guys looking for a job? I'm looking for some sales guys. And they go, oh, yeah, we'd be interested. And so I get their number and I drive off, and I'm like, I'm never calling those fools again. Like, I just wanted them to know that, like, hey, I have my company, right? And yeah, like, it was true. Like, it was like, hey, I have my company, and like, I'm the boss. And like, if you're looking for a job, like, I could give you a job. And I drove off, and I was like, I ain't never calling those fools again. Cause I was skeptical about sales guys, cause they overpromise and they over-deliver. And at the time, it was just me selling. And I knew that if I sold the job, it was gonna get done right. And so Misael called me and was like, hey, like, can we meet? Like, I have a friend. So we meet up at the Just Juice by the Costa Vida in Kennewick. And he brings his friend, and his friend's interviewing me. And I'm like, this is the exact reason why I didn't want to hire any sales guys. So I leave that meeting, I'm like, I'm not calling none of those fools. And then he calls me again. He's like, hey, bro, like, I'm really interested. And something had just happened, like, within a day or so, where like somebody had told me, like, you need a sales guy. Like, you're starting to drop the ball on a lot of things. Like, you need a sales guy. And he just called me. And that's why follow-up is so important, because you just never know when you're going to reach out to somebody at that specific time. And he called me. He's like, dude, I'm really interested. Could I start working? I said, I'll hire you. I said, but I'm not hiring your friend. He's like, all right, I'll tell him. And so he started, and his onboarding was, hey, here's your work. Here's your phone. This is our CRM. Follow me around. He drove around the truck for me for like a week. And I said, all right, go out there. He was like he got the worst onboarding more than anybody in this room. The worst onboarding. And he stayed. And he stayed when all the stuff with Omar and Daisy were happening. He stayed when we were sharing offices. Like, he was very frustrated. Misael was very frustrated. When he said he was very frustrated like you, he was in like a little baby mode. Like, he just shut down and was like, oh, this and that. Like, I don't think this is fair. But I just knew that if he got over that hump, he would understand what true leadership was. And so he's been the longest tenured sales guy here, right? And so also very, how old are you? 23, 24? 23. And so out of everybody here, the only people that came from roofing was Roy, Jose, and Mike. What? Oh, bro, your little 1 month stint with a roofing company does not count, bro. Was Roy, Jose, and Mike. And everybody else did not come from that, right? And my point behind that is that I wanted to take the time to shout everybody out, because everybody brings something different to the team. Everybody is unique in their own ways, and everybody is worthy of getting recognition. And I didn't invite you guys just here to eat, but everybody here is shaping where we're going. And everybody in this table is the exact life cycle of a job, from lead to close, to build, to final invoices. Like, we're the full cycle of a job here. Everybody here has a job. And if we are not aligned, it hurts everybody. If Roy can sell and we can't build, it hurts you. If you build and they can't sell, it hurts you. If you don't build it right when it comes to invoicing or doing the back end stuff, it hurts us. So everybody here has to be aligned, and everybody's department and position has to be respected. And so I think it's very important, because I want to share. So I was just watching it last night. I was like, man, what am I going to talk about today? And me and Dave were kind of talking about it. And he's like, it just has to come from the heart. And so whatever. So last night I was just like, whatever, I'm not going to work on it. I had it to work on what I was going to talk about today. And so I just put Landman on. Have you guys watched Landman on Prime? Nobody? It's such a good show. Landman? No? Oh my God. It's on Prime. You guys have to watch Landman. It's a really good show. It's like an oiled field, like drama show, whatever. And so Tommy is the main character in this show. And he has built, he worked for an oil company, the biggest oil company, MTEX, billions and billions of dollars in revenue, and he was the president. The owner died, and the wife took over. And when the wife took over, he worked harder to help the wife keep on growing the business. There was a lot of drama that happened, and he lived in a house with his attorney, one of his main foremen, his wife and his daughter, and then he brought his dad out of a retirement home and moved them in with him. And well, in this episode, which is the last episode of the season, the wife came up to him and fired him after he bled for the company, after he did everything he did for the company, and all the leadership, all the years that he put in, and he got fired. And at that time, he went out, and from the experience that he had one oil field, and he had a bunch of property that was gifted to him by the owner that passed away. And so he went to a drug dealer that was a businessman, drug dealer, and he went to him and he gave him this speech about what he could do for him. And the guy funded him $48 million to start the operation. With that $48 million, that guy's return was $6 million. Starting 1 week from that, he was going to get $6 million every single week. That's how much those fields produced. And so what he did, and this is at the end of the episode, so what he did is he called his son, got his daughter-in-law, which was his son's wife, and made them call the foreman, made him call the two attorneys, and made him call one of the main guys that ran the crews, and then just two guys that worked with those guys. And he brought them to the oil field, which is this oil rig that's not working properly. And he got them on the field, and everybody knew he had just gotten fired. So one of his attorneys had just resigned as well at the same time. And he goes to them and says, a lot of you guys know that I've lost my job, and I have one last home run in me. And I went to this guy, and I've secured $48 million in funding. And we now have our own oil company. And everybody just it was super suspenseful. Everybody was like, what's happening? And he goes, we now have our own oil company. We're going to pull 25% of the profits are going to get distributed across all the employees. And you guys here are the main core of the business. And he said, he told one of his attorney, are you in? And he said, you don't have to ask me twice. He asked Dell, which was his foreman, he goes, are you in? He goes, dude, you don't have to ask me twice. And he asked everybody down the line, and everybody said, I'm in. He said, son, you're going to be the president. I'm going to be the senior vice president. Your wife is going to be our office manager. He said, Dad, you're going to control the control center. His dad's 84 years old. Dad, you're going to control the oil center, the control center. And he said to one of his attorneys, you're going to be our treasurer. The girl attorney said, you're going to be our COO, our chief operating officer. And then the other worker, he said, you're going to run the crews, and you guys are going to be part of that crew. And it was like an emotional part of that thing, because this guy gave his life to this company, right? And then all of a sudden went out and secured funding, and they started their own oil company. And the point behind that is that I'm not planning on dying. I'm not planning on getting funding from a drug dealer.
Well, I thought maybe you secured $48 million.
And I wish that I could give you guys 25% of the profits. But I said this a year ago, and there was 8 people with me, but there were 7 people in that the area, meeting area, dinner area at Lulu's, right? It was at Lulu's. There were 7 people in that area. And out of those people, there's only 2. There's only 3, actually. It was Roy, Misael, and Crystal. And so if you look around, this is the core group. This isn't my company. This is our foundation. And this is the year that we take things to a completely different level. And one of the promises that I can make you guys, and I've said it, and I'm not going to go into the specifics, is that this is the year that we change lives in ways that haven't ever been changed. And accountability is going to require more. And if you look around the faces right now, a year from now, we might be down in numbers. Who knows if Mike is going to be here next year? Who knows if Roy's going to be here next year? There's so many things that can happen in a year, right? But this is the core group of people that are going to make things happen. And we're going to keep growing. And there's going to be more sales reps because I plan on hiring a few more sales reps. And there's going to be maybe more workers that we're going to hire this year. And if we grow in revenue, we're going to have to bring more support inside. But it starts with us. It starts with the people that are in this room. It doesn't matter how you got here or how lucky you think you got by getting here. The point is that you're here right now and you are the foundation of what we're building. And you guys here are going to reap the rewards of what we're going to grow. And yes, naturally, the people that keep on coming on, they're going to get the rewards as well. But you guys more specific than everybody are the core group of people. As we grow, I'm making you a commitment to myself. It's just how I made the commitment last year. I told everybody last year that I was planning on selling the business. But I went on a 10-year goal. I have 9 years left. For the next 9 years, I'm going to work as hard as I've ever worked. And I said that last year, and that wasn't a lie. But I, myself, as your leader, am on a different mission. I have so much clarity of where things are going. As a leader, I'm so much more, because of the mentorship that I've been able to get from Dave and the guidance that I've been able to get from RJ and you guys, how you guys have impacted me in ways that you guys are giving me shout outs, right? But really, I should be giving you guys shout out because I've learned so much through you guys. And this is the year where we start putting money away. So you might ask yourself, where are we right now? We were in a lot of trouble last year, a year ago, in a lot of trouble. And I shared this with a lot of you guys, and I want to share it with, I shared it with Roy, but we were in a lot of trouble last year. And I didn't know if we were going to make it because it just felt like we were drowning in Crystal. I felt like, maybe you could sense that because you're really the person that's involved with the finances and stuff like that. But I just knew that we couldn't give up. And, we come back full circle and where we're at now, and we're in such a good position. We're not where we should be, but we're in such a good position. And the reality is that myself, I told Roy this, is that I'm so excited to get my W-2 this year. And Roy was like, oh. At the meeting when I said, he's like, oh. And I said, and it's not because I'm going to show you, oh, look, guys, like, I made 6 figures, like I made $120,000 a year. If you guys work as hard as you guys should, then you guys have the same ability. No, it's not because of that. It's because I will be fucking surprised if I even made $10,000 on my W-2 this last year. Because I understood that if I paid my salary of $90,000 a year, then that meant that Jenessys or Crystal didn't have a job, and I couldn't afford that. It meant that Adam or Roy didn't have a job, and I couldn't afford that. It meant that Tony or Jose didn't have a job, and I couldn't afford that. So I said, well, I'd rather not pay myself, and instead of me paying that money, I'd rather pay it to somebody else. Because I just knew that if we could get over this hump, that if we could just get over these obstacles that we got put in, that we were going to be all right, and that if I just sacrifice in the short term, we were going to be able to reap the rewards in the long term. And that's exactly what's happening today. And that's exactly what's happening right now. So if you look around, it's because of everybody that's in this table, that's on this table. And the fact is that I can't do it without you guys. And we have to operate in a different level now. Instead of saying, hey, that's not my job, it's, hey, how do we fix this? What's next? Right? It's helping each other out in different departments. It's having some grace when things aren't going right because it's easy to be frustrated because production isn't doing your job and because you're getting complaints from the customers. It's very easy to go, man, well, the sales guys aren't doing this and they're not doing that. It's so easy to be frustrated. And we are going to get tested this year and there's going to be shit that we're going to go through. But the promise to you guys is that this year, one of the biggest things that I wanted to do that's been a dream of mine forever is that not only with the stuff that we're going to grow inside here, we're going to branch off to different locations, and there's going to be opportunities in those different locations, and general managers and head of productions, and more team leads are going to come from this because we're going to scale. But one of the biggest dreams that I've ever had was being able to, not only because it's hard when you're like, oh, it's your company, like you're the one that, oh no, it's really not like that. This year we were setting something up with my attorney where we are going to, when we get in, and I'm thinking it's going to be sometime in between June and July where we'll really start moving this forward, is that our parent company is called Madrigal Development LLC, doing business as A&A Roofing Services. The way we make our money is by roofing. It's A&A Roofing Services, but the long-term goal has always been Madrigal Development. It's been developing land, building houses, buying houses, flipping houses, is in the real estate, commercial, residential, whatever that is, right? But we're going to start small, just how everything starts. And A&A, Madrigal Development, is going to buy and flip houses. And every single one of you guys are going to have the opportunity to be able to put in as much money as you want to put in. If there's a house on the market that's going to require some work, the main reasons why people don't move forward with the deal is because it has a bad roof and they're going to have to spend a lot of money in there. Or because it has an HVAC system that's going on, they're going to have to spend a lot of money in there. Or it has a lot of stuff that they have to remodel in the inside and they don't want to spend the money. But we're in the construction industry, and we have the guys that can do the work. We have Mario that works for us full time now. I can give Mario one house and say, hey, this is the house, this is what needs to get done, here's the material, fix it. And he's on an hourly basis. So if the house is a $500,000 house, then I go to everybody and I go, hey, this is the opportunity, we have the opportunity to buy this house, this is how much money we would need down. Let's say it's $100,000. Okay, how much money would you like to put in? 5,000, 4,000, none? Cool. You want to put anything? No, I'm okay. All right, sounds good. Roy, how much would you want to put in? 10,000? All right. Jose, hey, I'd like to put in $20,000 in that. And we go around and we get enough money, including myself, and we put the down payment to that house. And that is not under Madrigal Development, but that's under everybody's name. And what we do with that is that once you give the money, we take over the construction. We can do the roof and save a killing. We can do the interior drywall, painting. We can do the flooring. We can do the deck. We can do the concrete out in the front. We can do the landscape. And we should have that turned around in a matter of four months, right? So we want to turn that around in a matter of 12 weeks. Fix it, flip it, sell it. In a matter of 4 months, you guys are going to 10x, 15x your money. Because of what, and it all depends on how much you put in. You put in more, when we go to sell, you have more share. But there's a clause that if you were required to do some work in there and you don't do your work, there's going to be a board. And that board could decide to remove your equity from the house. So just because Roy puts in and Roy never shows up one to the house, it's equal. The board can vote to remove Roy's equity from the house. So it's an equal playing field. A guy that is very close to me that I know, they're on their 52nd house that they flipped as a company. And it's all internal management. He's been able to build an opportunity for somebody to go in there and to put money and triple, quadruple their money. Off a $10,000 investment, they got $45,000 back, $35,000 in profit in a 4-month period. And then what they've been able to do as they've been able to grow that, they've been able to invest in storage units and commercial real estate. And this is where we start thinking of, hey, I'm a part of something. This isn't just a job. This isn't just where I come in and I clock out. This is where I might have to come in on the weekend and I might have to go and sign that contract. And I might have to drive to Wenatchee just so that I can take, because Adam can't make it. I might have to make the trip because that's how we start changing lives. Our lives and the lives of the people that are going to be employed by us, because what you guys do and what you guys sell and what you guys produce, there's people that are out there that are living a very comfortable life. Some of our foremen, the girls can say, because they've seen their W-2s, are making $70K plus with zero high school education, coming from a third world country like Honduras. People that have never understood making 80, 90K, having been able to have the opportunity. Because why? because we are the people that move that forward. It's you guys. It's every single one of you guys. Now, they're very important to that. But it's because of the work that you guys are putting in every single day. So the next time that you have that selfish feeling, and we talked about this, Roy, is that it's not about us. And if you ever get to the point where the self-interest, and you guys hear me say it all the time, the self-interest never overcomes the mission. The mission always comes first, because the moment that the self-interest overcomes the mission fails every single time. Not once, not twice, not 3 times, but every single time. Because I could go out there and take the money that we're making, and I could go buy, and I could travel, and I could buy a truck, and I could buy a boat, and I could go do that. But what do? I put my shit on credit so that you guys are able to have an opportunity, so that we can keep on growing and keep moving this forward, because we worked way too fucking hard to just give up now. And so for that, like I said to you guys, this isn't my company, but this is our foundation. And this doesn't grow. We're going to grow inside the company, right? We might have 20 people in the office by the end of this year. But this is the core group. This is our core group. I want you guys to be very clear of that. If we get 10 more people that come in, yeah, we're going to have a bigger team dinner. But this people is the people that get to make the decisions from now on. And every single one of you guys get an input. And guess what? If we have 2 people drop off, it doesn't keep on growing. We don't just replace the 2 people that came in. This is the core group. So if we have 2 people that drop off this year, then next year we're just coming with 8 people. And if the year after that, 2 more people drop off, we're only staying with 6 people. And the more people drop off, the more everybody benefits. The smaller we get, the more of those benefits that I'm just talking about everybody gets. Because I understand that you guys all have a family and you guys all have goals. And my goal is to have you guys work with me alongside every one of you guys here for as long as I possibly can have you. And when the moment comes that you guys have to move on, you guys have to do something that's better for you, I will respect it. And you guys, I will be your biggest support as you guys make that transition. Okay? Because the reality is that if I don't want you to leave, then I need to pay you more. And I encourage everybody to go home tonight, because this is our core group. And we're going to go bowl right now. And we're going to go have a good time for those of you that are going. But I want you to go home tonight. And I really want you to think, should I update my resume? And I encourage you guys to do this. I'm really serious about it. Should I update my resume? And should I post it out there and see what type of offers that I get? Because if you can make more money somewhere else, making $20,000, $30,000 or more, that's a big difference. Then I encourage you to leave and to go pursue that. Because if you stay here, I need you guys to be all in. Everybody here has to help each other out this year if we need to, when we grow to that next level. So if you stay here, I need you to understand that you're part of something bigger now. Okay? Again, this is not my company. This is our foundation, and I'm grateful for every single one of you guys. So cheers.